Hi everyone, thanks for joining this meeting. I'll present. Okay, so this is our fourth developers meeting. So this is the agenda. We have to go through the release of the new minor version 1.16.0 and our first kind of patch release for another minor release that we support. So this is going to be the first time we support two minor releases as a community. So the idea is to support the latest minor 2 releases, and then the proposal is to extend by another month the supportability of the release that just got out of the supportability window. The idea is to allow everyone to, update frequently their operator, and possibly always allow everyone to update to the latest minor. So jump always to the new minor release, because we have the upgrade test, so we think that it's stable, but also enable the more conservative ones to stay in the minor release and grant them 5-6 months before they actually move to another new minor release. So I don't know, we can talk about I had prepared some patches, they have been reviewed, so with the new schema. Then I wanted to talk, this is another item I put here, on the 26th of July, there will be the review, the next review of the applications for the sandbox. We are, I think, the 9th project in the queue, so it will be likely that the project will be reviewed that date. So ideally, if everyone could, just look at the project in time, a global view of the project and see, weak spots or, places where we can improve. And the last one is something that, Philippe proposed. And I don't know, I think, do you want to talk about that, Philippe? Because the first one is quite, I think it's going to take a lot of time.
Yeah, sure. So quickly, in TQ proposed a patch introducing a new parameter, which was actually useful. Me and Jonathan already reviewed it. I approved the PR, and Jonathan, I don't think he approved it yet, but I think he had a look. It's just introducing, similarly to what we do for post something else. So a script, we already have a way to inject the scripts to be executed after the creation of a database. This patch is introducing scripts which can be stored in config maps or secrets, so that's the refs part, and will be executed after the creation of the application database. So the patch is fine. It's introducing all the tests and everything. So looks good to me. The only point I wanted just to discuss was that it's actually introducing some kind of dependency on config maps and secrets, given that it's mounting them and not getting them once the pod is started, as we do with other things. That's because these config maps or secrets are needed during the job, while the job is running, so we can actually mount them and use them, and then they will be just forgotten once we spin up the instance. So, but this could mean that the job actually stays pending, because if the user just specifies a config map or a secret which doesn't exist, it could lead to the job being pending. That's actually already what happens for some other config maps we reference that we mount. I can't remember which one. I think maybe the super users. I think there are other ones. So I just wanted to be sure we all agree that for now it's fine. I mean, the scope of this patch is fine. We could improve on the observability, but my point is that I'm not even sure we need to improve on the observability, because actually usually, like, if you create a deployment with a config map which doesn't exist, Kubernetes doesn't give you anything back. It's just gonna be pending, and that's it, which is exactly what our job is gonna be doing. So I'm not sure we actually need it. So for me, it's good. If we all agree, it's fine, and maybe we can discuss that, or achieve some kind of agreement on we don't need to do anything at all. We can move forward this patch for me.
Yeah, that is what I would expect from another Kubernetes object. You refer to something that is in there, and also it's useful because you could put your script, your manifest for the initialization containing the cluster and the secret in sequence, and yeah, the cluster will create the job, and then the job will start when the secrets are created. I think it's fine.
On the review, so if someone wants to pick it and merge it, it's good to go for me.
Sorry, I was just browsing.
Yeah,
I think, I mean, do you think that, I mean, in terms of end-to-end tests, we don't have anything here, right?
no, it's actually introducing it, I think. Yeah.
Test end-to-end. It's in there is something in the patch. If you can see it in the left column. So
and here I think this is it. I mean, if Philippe is confident.
Yeah, it's still missing a second review, so someone else has to test it, but we played with it. The patch the code is good, and we changed a few things, and it's also fixing some missing git ignore we didn't put in.
Yeah, there's a test here as well.
Yeah, it's standard. It's up to the standard for the other fields, so it's introducing all the things required.
I mean, if there's somebody volunteering to review this, we can change. I mean, we have to remember that when we apply these, we also have to change the release notes.
Yeah.
Okay, and in terms of docs, there's actually nothing that.
No, yeah, that's the only thing missing. Yeah.
So I think we need that as well.
Yeah.
So I think actually TQ should write. I think, in my opinion, we should send a message that documentation should be part of the patch.
Okay.
One of the things that bothers me on this patch is that how we tell the user that we are waiting for your secret and config map to create the first job.
The same way as a deployment does. So we don't. It's that job is gonna be pending,
but probably we can create an event on the cluster or something like that. So it will not take that much time, but we will tell the user that, hey, your cluster hasn't been created. And actually, this is an issue we have with all the config and secrets behavior that we probably can improve that part.
There should already be an event for the pod created by the job. That secret is missing in the cluster.
Yeah.
So the event should be there, but not against the cluster, but against the pod.
Yeah, But people expect to see that in the cluster. That's the issue.
Jonathan,
yeah, this is not how it works for deployments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have another issue already open for the observability of the initialization jobs. So I think there is the scope of the other issue, because now if a job fail, we don't tell anything to the user through the cluster. So it's a more important issue, I think. So I think we should leave that in the initialization of observability issue.
By the way,
there's another thing here. I don't know if TQ already added that, but we added another initialization SQL field during the offline import patch. So I think we should complete this patch by adding also the ref version of that field.
But that could even be another patch.
Yes, it could be another patch, but it's well, I think that should be completed before releasing. Okay, that's all.
Okay, I get. So basically, I think this one, in my opinion, needs some basic documentation, at least a mention that where post-init application is SQL is explained, that we can also do this, I think.
Okay, yeah.
That's
a comment for that.
And but then I think we could, if we are confident, there is second review passes and we make it on time, but I think we are a bit short on time,
But are we going to release like this week?
Yeah, I think, I mean, if we can, so okay, what do you think about these? I mean, we release tomorrow without these, and then we merge these and we ask the queue to also, implement the import one. And I'm a bit hesitant because, I mean, I think we have, I don't know.
We don't have so much time. We don't have so much time.
Yeah, this was, I don't think this was a priority, so that's why I didn't want to push it into the release when it was scheduled back then. So maybe it's enough to put it in the next one. It was just a nice to have. In the end, it's not a requirement by anyone.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pity that we're so close,
Yeah.
And I think for TQ, it would have been great, but I think it would be great for him as well if, early next week we're able to merge that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, even if he can provide some better documentation and example, probably it would be great for him. Yeah,
it's a good sign, that as reviewers we focus on that, and we say that, documentation should be part of the patch. Okay.
And I think that after this patch, we need to reassess the status of this initdb job, because we are using options instead of directly getting information from the cluster. So this was designed when we had no Kubernetes cluster inside this initdb job. So this is why we are using so many options and secrets around, and probably we could implement something more easier, which is doing the same job.
Yeah, we can actually refactor that part because we have the same issue with a lot of jobs. Then we have everything on the object.
Yeah, also it will react to change the cluster. Now, if you change something, a job fail, you have basically no way to make it reading the new cluster. You need to manually delete the job. And if we start using the Kubernetes object to retrieve our parameters, it will automatically react to changes. For example, if you point a different secrets or something like that.
Yeah, perhaps we should keep track of the resource version that of this secret that we used to bootstrap the cluster, because otherwise, I'm just thinking of supporting people, you could easily create one cluster with the secret containing a certain set of queries, and then 1 month pass, you change the secret, and now you have a situation where the database has one status, but the secret is different, and you cannot easily tell how was this secret when you created the cluster, and if effectively it was changed in the meantime or not. And yeah, but the same argument applies to the set of init queries. I don't think we have a webhook check preventing the user to change them after the initialization of the cluster. So yeah.
So what's our decision?
I think we should put this patch on 1.17 and do a better documentation, because it would be a good improvement for a lot of people, and then actually developers will use it to create clusters over and over again just for testing. So we need the documentation and samples for this.
Yes, I'm for 117 too.
Yeah, I agree.
That's good. Yeah.
Okay, so can I go ahead with these to postpone?
Yes.
You ask for more documentation and
Yeah.
postpone.
And Marco's point is that I think the refs, we could make a better story with the refs if we also introduce the import. Yeah, you commented that in the ticket. But I think,
yeah, I already wrote that in the ticket a couple of days ago, and TQ agreed that it is good. It might be part of a 7 patch, just to avoid continuing to make this patch growing.
Yeah, makes sense. So we'll just comment on the PR asking to add some docs and example.
Yeah.
And we can move forward.
Okay, good. Okay, I mean, I can do that, or yeah, should I do it now? Yeah,
we can do it at async.
Yeah, okay.
I will just...
Okay, so for the release, so I can jump back to the first item. I don't know if you saw it, but I think we have changed these. So now we've got a release procedure document. Okay, so this document explains, the concept of a release branch, and so basically you see that now we have release branches, release -115, -116. So each of them corresponds to a minor release. So there are usually 3 supported minor releases. The current one, so for example, so tomorrow 116, then 115, and then I don't know if you have better names, I called it end of life. So the idea is to extend these for another month. Well, we could make 2, I don't know. I mean, this is up to us. So that if we release every 2 months, basically we support a release for 6 months. Okay. And this is the diagram, for example. So this is main. So just to denote, you know, the trunk development that we follow, so that every patch goes in main. Then once we release the first Dodo release of that branch, we fork. Okay. So what I think we need to write some procedure about how we do backporting. So Leonardo and I, we had we talked about these and we said, okay, let's use maybe the next release to see how this works, and then maybe write the procedure back then. Okay. So sorry, got one. Sorry, I have to take this call 1 second.
Yeah, regarding the automation of the backporting, I think we could add a label to the PR, and then when a PR is merged and have that label, we could have an automated process that try to apply that PR to the older release branches, and in case of failure, notify us.
And this is also what I was thinking about. Yeah.
But the issue is that even if we have the automatic process that will fail, and probably most of the time will fail, we will have to do it manually most of the time. You know, backporting is always.
To be honest, when we created the branch 1.15, there was not so many failures. A couple, I think, in the whole process. So
yeah, but it was a short difference and release one from the other. But in the next release, we will have
about 50 commits. It's not so short.
Yeah,
most
but
of them
think,
are.
You know, one of the options could be, for example, I must admit that when I started to write the release notes, for me, it was very difficult because I think commit messages were, in my opinion, appalling. You know, no, I mean, I had to, I don't think there was a single, maybe just a few commits that explain what the commit was. I had to basically dig in, and so I think we have to improve that. I think if we want to do that, we need to make sure that we actually follow semantic versioning, conventional commits properly. Otherwise, you know, I think we can have problems. But in my opinion, that was my proposal. If basically we make it part of the review, maybe the second review. So the second review, when that happens, if it's a fix or we think that it is something that makes sense to have in the backport, we just do it. Okay, so for example, here I did this with Marco. We were cherry picking all of these were cherry picked from you know, main. I don't think it's a big burden if we learn to do it as part of the review, and then we maybe from there we can decide if we do it automatically somehow. But I'd like to build that after we know what we do. You know,
I think that we will learn this from experience, and we need to start trying the automatic style, doing the merge when we think it should, and do the merge manually. And probably it will take some time, but we need to learn in the process and take our experience.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we wrote these. So. So ideally, you know, 1 or 2 weeks before, I mean, we have to update the supported releases page, and I'll show the release notes, capabilities page, and the documentation for the website, because at the moment this is all manual. Then this is how we change the release process. So it needs to happen in the release branch. So maybe tomorrow we can try that out. And we need to release 2 versions. Now that there would be 3 at some stage. Yeah. And yeah. What about the Helm chart? Will we have? How will we manage multiple versions in the Helm chart?
Good point. The same
Yeah.
way.
We will have to split the Helm version.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I hadn't seen these. Sorry, my bad. I didn't see.
Yeah, but that is for only one release, and the Helm chart actually has a release version, meaning that the Helm chart itself has a version. I think we can create 2 versions for 2 different releases.
Yeah.
Who did introduce these? Sorry, I missed this. Probably you even told me, but
I think Leonardo added it.
Me.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's part of what's already written in the hand chart repository, I think, no?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so this is.
Yeah, actually, we have to rethink the hand chart.
Yeah, probably we need to rethink this Helm chart process, because now doesn't make sense how it is created to have different versions of the operator.
Well, given that minor should not introduce new features.
No,
So,
minor introduces new features.
Yeah, sorry, patches should not
Patch
introduce
or
new features.
security patch. Yeah.
So we actually, you could be using the same hand chart, changing the image, and it should work 99% of the times. So we have to think about it, but it might be easier, because actually the hand chart for 1.15 should work for 1.15.0, 1.15.1, 1.15.2, as long as you change the image tag. So
yeah, and probably we can create like a version of Helm chart 15 point something, and we follow the CNPG release version. So we have 2 versions of the Helm chart at the same time. If someone wants to use 15 or 16 or whatever. But yeah, we need to rethink that and probably follow the release branches actually house in the same way that CNPG will do it now.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Okay. Anyway, I think we should probably create a ticket about it. Do you think we can work on this after the release, or do we need to do it before?
I think we can do it after.
Yeah.
Okay.
After the release, because we will actually need both releases to have an idea how it will work, and both releases to test everything. So
yeah, exactly.
After the release, indeed.
Okay.
As soon as we have both the releases, we can maybe do the first release manually and understand what we actually need, and then automate it. So
what we can do is, at the moment, just follow, the Helm chart. We simply install the latest, always the latest. So, and we, so for example, tomorrow we release 1.16.
that's also an option. Yeah, depends on. Yeah, I mean.
Okay. So
Depends
I just
on what customer expect from the Helm chart.
So okay, yeah. Okay, but I wouldn't wait. I would just release.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is something that, I don't know what you think, but basically now we support also 1.24. So for example, even the release 1.15, we introduced tests for 124, but we decided not to add 124 in the supported versions of Kubernetes. That was actually something raised rightly so by Armando. And so I think as a policy, we can decide that we support the releases of Kubernetes at the time that were supported at the time the .0 release was out. What do you think?
Yeah, totally agree, because we will actually test stuff before or even in the middle of the versions. So indeed, makes a lot of sense.
Also, I mean, we are just, I mean, I think as a community, we should work on the new stuff all the time. I think if we spend too much time backporting stuff,
Exactly.
I think, so I don't want to, you know, I'll briefly talk about EDB, I think, but I think that these will apply to all the vendors that want to join in. I think this is something that professional vendors should actually offer, you know, and we as a community, we work upstream, because I know that companies will be lagging on, you know, being up to date with the latest Kubernetes version, because sorry to say that happened with this release, you know. So we didn't, I mean, we hadn't noticed that 124 was missing. You know, I'm just doing some critical analysis of how we have been working, you know, at ADB recently for this software, you know. So I think nobody actually came up with the idea of adding 124. So I think we shouldn't expect that. So unless it's the community that pushes forward for the new Kubernetes releases, we shouldn't expect that from, you know, vendors. Sorry to be abrupt and talk about you know, about this, but I think it's a matter of fact. Okay, this is what happened. So in my opinion, we should just, you know, focus on always the new Kubernetes versions with the upstream, because otherwise, if we don't do it there, it won't be done and the project becomes obsolete quite fast. I don't know what you think, but.
You know, I'm totally agree on going with the new things all the time. So for me, it's how it should be. Actually, I really want to support Go 1.18 and 1.19, and I'm pretty sure that Armando will support that idea too. So
I also
new things all the
that.
time.
I also support that. It's a thing that I'm waiting to do because I have no time, but I want definitely to have it.
So okay, I mean, this is, you know, the changes. I mean, this is going to be an important page. Okay, so I mean, if you can spot anything, you know, major, please, you know, let us know before tomorrow. So ideally, every time we release here, we need to update also these ones. So for example, ideally it's, you know, after 2 months roughly that we plan for the release. Hopefully we're not missing this time as well, and so on. And this is, I pretty much copied this or got an idea from the set manager one. So yeah. So okay, this is the backport. Okay, does this backport improve CloudNativePG? Bearing in mind that we really value stability for already released versions, this is what Set Manager is using as a criteria to backport. So for example, there were some things that could be seen as enhancements that Marco and I decided to backport in 1.15. Okay. and because we thought that that would improve stability, and it didn't change the interface, but was preventing problems from happening in the future. Okay. And again, I mean, I apologize if sometimes Marco and I, for example, and Leonardo, I mean, we took a shortcut, but it's because I think we cannot miss tomorrow's release. Okay, well, we're already 2 weeks late, and I know that there are some issues with work on this stuff. So anyway, so this is, I think, the release part. The release notes are there, so that everyone's aware. So we are introducing 2 major features. One is the offline data import. So this is actually the major one. So we are enabling users now to import an existing database outside Kubernetes, inside Kubernetes, even from a previous minor version of Postgres, major version of Postgres. So for example, if you've got Postgres on VM on even 9.4 or 9.3, for example, you could even move that into Postgres 14, provided that objects are compatible, Postgres objects are compatible. We introduced 2 types of import, the microservice and the monolith. I'm actually planning to write a blog article about this, but I mean, this is, in my opinion, a very important feature that we should talk about. And then the other one is the entire Affinity rules for synchronous replication. This is something I think Armando, you and probably Leonardo worked on these, if I remember correctly. And this was, I mean, this is important because, for example, based on labels on the nodes, we can make sure that synchronous replicas are on nodes that have different values of those labels. So we make sure that, for example, if we use the availability zones, they're in different availability zones. Then this is another important patch that Philippe wrote. This completes the fencing thing. By the way, I've seen some further use cases for fencing, for example, even snapshotting, or for example, if you want to take a backup, consistent backup of a cluster, you could fence a standby and back up the PVC.
Yeah,
Okay.
Actually, yes.
And then remove the fencing. Okay, provided you have the WAL file somewhere. And so anyway, I think that this is a feature that I think now is complete and that is important. And again, I think we should blog about this stuff. We should find time to talk, or even, I mean, talk at meetups and things like that, And these are other improvements, so the enhancements, and these are the some changes. Postgres 14.4 is the default operand image. So for example, this is not a bug fix, but with Marco, we decided to backport this patch to the 15 release. Okay, this is just an example. And these are fixed. This is an important one. I think there are some important bug fixes in the backup and recovery space. So anyway, I think this is a very, very good release. Then
there are no release notes for 1.15.2. Okay, different branch.
Yeah, but this is what we decided to do. I mean, this is something Marco and I know that Leonardo, this doesn't resonate with Leonardo. but the idea is that 115.2 should not be in the 116 release because it pretty much duplicates all the fixes. So if you are in 116, you basically 115.2. Otherwise, we have to start creating 115, 116 minor releases in all releases. Okay.
So it's, if you go on main, you won't see
115.2.
Exactly.
So if you go
Yeah,
here,
that's kind of the problem.
So in main, just 0.0.
Yeah.
yeah, the dot 15.1 is an exception. Okay, because
But on main, we can have two commits and to the one for the 115.2. Okay, no, but I did.
I think if we do that, we have to create, duplicate the documentation. Okay, version 116, and then you have all the release notes for version 116, and then version 115, and all the release notes for version 115. In that way, everything is in main, which is fine. So we're still in time to make the change. Okay, so, and I think we can even do it later probably, but
Makes it's not so easy to manage, unfortunately.
No, you need to have one file per minor.
Yeah,
it's the only reasonable way to do that.
Yeah.
So
we can still do it. We can still do it. So we could create, release notes. We create version 116.x, and we go to 116, the file with 116.
But to be honest, I think and I believe that 115.2 release is only interesting for 115 running, because if you are running 116, you don't care what is in 115.2, I think.
Yeah, also I think it's more philosophical aspect that we want to keep, the trunk development approach. So for us, after 115.1, there's 116, because this is the best release for us. So from 115.1, there's no reason for us for which you shouldn't move to 116.0. Okay, so this is again the trunk-based development kind of mindset. And that's what, I think having the multiple releases kind of slows down, So to me, this is the way to go. This is from 115.1, you go to 116.0 period, because we test the upgrade, it works. So why shouldn't you go to 116 straight away?
Yeah, I was more worried about how the user will access the release note, but they will get them from probably the website, because they won't go inside the docs / whatever. So
we need to add both the minor here. We need to have 1.15.2 and 1.16.0 in this page.
So there's a patch here.
Yes.
And the typo, because
I already fixed it.
Okay.
Okay, so this is how it's gonna look. So if you go here, okay, now it doesn't work on my, I don't know, but So there will be 116
Point
and
0.
115.
Probably. You need a point
No,
0
no,
there.
I have
No?
removed, so that
Ah.
will be 115 and 116. So just the
Okay.
last one. Okay,
Good.
because at that point, we're not interested in, I mean, in the same release branch, everything should be compatible. So,
Yes.
so there's a patch for these. So if you in the website, and also I'm writing a blog article about the release. So this is the release branch. And some comments. So I have removed 115.0 and 115.1. So ideally we should have redirects, but I don't know how to do it. Then I introduce 115, 116. And I've changed these. This is terrible, but I think the one before was even worse. Because Simon and I had, there was a shortcut to import that, documentation. But anyway, so this is, the patch, and the other one is, yeah, the blog article about the release. So the announcement. So basically, the idea is that every time we release, we write a blog article that announces the release, and we point to that from the Twitter account of CloudNativePG. And then, yeah. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think we have, the part, I think, where we don't have a consensus, but we made a decision is about, what you just saw. Release notes diverging. So there's basically a patch in the release -115 branch that is not in main. So that's what I know Leonardo doesn't like. And I understand. But if we find, for example, bugs that can only be solved in the 115, we still have to, commit in that release branch. So there will always be, in my opinion, things that are not developed in main, but are developed in release branches. So, for example, this is another enhancement that we decided to add to 115. Okay. So because that improves the login.
And also the one about Barman, it's a better error message in case you are using the wrong version of Barman with the Postgres 15. So it's nothing more than a user interface improvement.
So this is it. Any questions? Any stoppers from releasing tomorrow?
A stopper, no, but question. Are we going to release at what time? Do we know? No, we don't. Okay.
Do we care?
Yeah, okay, yeah. I saw your expressions. It's fine.
For me,
No,
I would release on Friday at 6 p.m. Actually, 5:59. So.
Yeah, I know, because I have to stay on this side, finish the release probably. Yeah, I know. No, I'm just asking this because I wanted to know if I will be able to actually be on the release process tomorrow or not. But if after the release is after 2 p.m. Europe time, I will not be able. So.
Yeah, ideally we should try. There are still some things we need to figure out here in terms of permissions. So, but I think we should let just the maintainers for now manage the as much as I would like other people to do the release. Probably in this phase, it still makes sense to, you know, limit that to maintainers. Okay. But what I was, so the other topic, so I think for the release, we should be fine. See, with to release tomorrow. So I think that if, so we decided to go on the diverging release notes. I think if, you know, there are strong arguments against that, I mean, let's fix it now. Otherwise, I think, you know, we can fix it at a later time, but it's probably better to resolve it now.
No, I don't mind. The access will be from the, I think, mostly from the CloudNativePG.io docs. And there you just get whatever you.
Yeah, I also noticed that, for example, Postgres just shows the release notes of that major release now.
Yeah, and they have split by release notes.
Yeah.
So same thing.
And here, you know, I think that, I mean, everyone should give a look at the overall documentation and resources before the review date on the TOC for major issues. Okay.
What does the review entail? What
They just look at the governance, at the, you know, I think IP, yeah, license, yeah, if there's a governance model. I think that I had found, you know, there's a document that explains that. Like, I don't have it now. CSF sandbox process. So early stage. So I think it should be a low level, low entry, low barrier entry level. Okay, so I think they have recently changed that. It was stricter until, I mean, before KubeCon it was stricter. I think they made it less strict now. See. So CNCF TOC will not discriminate for sandbox versus non-sandbox projects. Okay, you can apply for incubation even out if you haven't applied for sandbox. Neutral home. So, yeah. Anyway, I can't find it now. Anyway, I think we are on top of the hour. Yeah. So
Yes, we are.
Okay. Any questions before we wrap up?
Nope, not from me.
Okay, good. Thank you, everyone.
Okay,
Thank you,
everyone.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
You, bye-bye.
Ciao. Stop recording.